There's an interesting story about an outbreak of cholera in 1854 in London that I wanted to tell you about using glue. So the idea is that in London in 1854, in the Soho district, there was this outbreak of cholera where hundreds of people died within the time span of a week. And obviously people were very concerned, worried about this outbreak spreading, and nobody really understood how cholera was transmitted. The predominant theory of the time was that it was transmitted through the air, which turns out not to be true. And the physician who had this breakthrough that really led to people figuring out cholera was John Snow. And so John Snow was a physician, and what he decided to do was to make a map of where people were dying of cholera and correlate that map with the location of water pumps. So he had this hunch that it had something to do with people's supply of drinking water. So I've loaded into Glue a lot of the data that John Snow collected, and I've opened a lot of that already. So here is a map, a street map of Soho, modern day street map of Soho. This is a distribution of the amount of deaths at each location that John Snow collected. So there's a lot of locations where 1 to 5 people died, and then a couple locations where 15 people died. And so the first thing I'd like to do is actually plot these locations, these color-coded list of locations, on top of the street map. And so the way I do that is I select all of these colored selections and drag them over onto the map here in Glue. And I can see that there's basically the points are all clustered in this few block radius. And the next thing John Snow did was compare this distribution to basically the distribution of water pumps. And so I have that set of locations as well here in the pumps variable. And so I'll drag that over and plot the pumps as large green circles. And so you can see right away that these deaths are indeed clustered around one particular water pump, this pump on modern-day Broadwick Street, which in the day was called Broad Street. And so John Snow basically showed a map like this to the town, and the next day they went and shut down this water pipe. It turned out that water pipe was contaminated, and sewage was leaking into the water supply, and that's what was contaminating people with cholera. If you wanted to quantify that a little bit more, I've shown here another distribution that shows for each death, the distribution of which pump is closest to that death. And so you see the majority of deaths are associated with this first bar, pump 0, which is this center green point. If I actually want to plot the distribution of just those particular deaths, I can do that pretty easily. I have this variable associated with all the deaths here with the Broad Street pump, and I can just display those on the map over here in pink points. And so basically all of these points, all of these deaths are from people who were closer to the Broad Street pump than anything else, and they were walking to this pump to get their water. Just for kind of historical interest, we can also look at the original map that John Snow created, which is over here. So this is a hand-drawn map, and he made these bars, which are kind of histograms showing how many people were dying at each location. And again, we could overplot our data, our modern data, on top of this. So I could look at just the Broad Street pump deaths here in pink again, or if I want to look at the kind of sized and color-coded deaths, I can add all of these to the plot. And you can see them here. Let me turn off the Broad Street pump deaths to make it a little bit easier to see. And so I can see here the same data that John Snow collected in a modern context.